I am absolutely flummoxed as to who is driving the office of the governor of the state of Minnesota. This weekend, Governor Tim Walz, in his first kind of town hall, big get out there and see a bunch of Minnesotans. Oh, wait, he went to Iowa and Nebraska. Do you believe that Tim Walz does want to run for governor again? Because I don't. I don't. And if he does, the people running his office and running his campaign, somebody needs to kind of get with the program. I have zero desire to be governor of the state of Minnesota. That's a lie. I'd say like I have a 10% desire to be the governor of the state of Minnesota. But if I had just run for vice president, my ticket lost, and I decided I wasn't going to run for U.S. Senate because I'm a governor. I don't want to be one of 100. Give me a break. I want to be the governor. Wouldn't you do a barnstorming tour of your own state? Wouldn't you go to Mankato and go to Duluth and go to Hutchinson and have town halls and get some action going and get reconnected with the state? Convince us that you care. Instead, you go to Des Moines? Like, I get the bid if your Republican representative is a coward and doesn't want to have a town hall because they don't want people to come in protesting or whatever, which I have thoughts about that too. I'll share those in a minute. Why would you leave the state? Why? Someone explain this to me because it makes no sense. 651-461-9226 is our number. It just makes no sense to me unless you really think that you have a shot to be a national leader. The Democratic Party has a vacuum of national leadership for sure. I saw a poll this weekend. I think it was CNN asked Democrats who the leader of the Democratic Party was. And I don't think anybody had more than 10%. And Tim Walz had 1% on that vote, which I know many Minnesota Republicans were using to dunk on Tim Walz as if that was somehow embarrassing that he had 1%. I would think, like, it's pretty good, man. Like, Tim Walz, he's the governor of a nobody state. Like, sorry, let's be honest. This is in the scheme of the national conversation. That's what we are. And so I thought, like, all right, 1%, pretty good. I don't think Tim Walz is going to run for governor. And if he does run for governor, my gosh, it's going to be pretty easy to run against him, right? When the going got tough, where did Tim Walz go? Iowa and Nebraska. This doesn't make any sense to me. I read within the last hour that the governor is going to meet with all of the legislative leaders, the 4 legislative leaders, the House and Senate, on Wednesday, which I think is a good sign. I mean, as far as I could tell, and we've had Lisa Demuth on this show before, the Speaker of the House, a Republican Speaker of the House, who has said she has tried to have meetings with the governor and he's had no interest. But no interest is sort of the vibe that I get when you go to Iowa and Nebraska. Now, it was over the weekend, whatever. Like, you don't have to work every day. Like, we're already getting texts like, who's running the state of Minnesota with the governor's office? Like, come on. Like, okay. Like, I get that. And I think it's ridiculous. And also, like, the governor knows how this works. When you leave the state and you go to these other states, it does open yourself up to who's running our state. The governor of Minnesota has largely been running a national campaign since what? August? When was he picked as the vice president? I mean, it feels like so long ago, but I don't think it was that long ago, was it?
August 6th was the announcement, so.
Hey, how about that? I just pulled August right out of my, I said it's St. Patrick's Day. The luck of the eye. It's this green sweater I'm wearing today. I just think it makes no sense. And so when you kind of run this through and think it through, you say either Tim Walz doesn't really want to run for governor of Minnesota. Tim Walz thinks that he has a shot at being a national leader in the Democratic Party, or the people advising Tim Walz are idiots. Am I missing an option? Like those seem like the options to me. Let's go to Dave in Minnetonka at 651-461-9226. David makes no sense to me.
Oh, I think it makes perfect sense. I think everybody should encourage Walz to run because his buffoonery will come out and the Republicans will be in there for a total of 12 years. Are you kidding? He doesn't have a snowball's chance in the heck of winning.
Dave,
let him run.
You are giving the Republicans much more credit than I am willing to give them for the candidate that they'll run or for the opportunity to screw up a very good opportunity in front of them. But I think you're right. I mean, I think and there also is a certain degree of like when you have, I don't know, sometimes I think our local political leaders have more of a national shot than they do locally because people locally maybe, 3 terms, people are sort of sick of it. I don't know, but I just, wouldn't you do a barnstorming tour of your own state? Like I ran
a little, yeah.
I'm back, baby. Let's get Minnesota back on track. This seems so obvious to me.
Well, why doesn't he do anything here?
Why do you think?
Because he would get lambasted.
Yeah.
He would be called out for all of the buffoonery. I like that word because he uses it. So
you do like the word Dave, thank you. I believe that our politicians should have the stones to take the hits, right? Like this idea, and we're seeing that Republican leadership are saying that Republican U.S. representatives shouldn't do town halls because they don't want to get yelled at. Like, grow a pair. Give me a break. You don't want to get yelled at? I host a stupid talk show. I get yelled at all day, every day by wackadoos on social media. I certainly would love to have a meeting and have everybody come and let it rip. What do I care? Certainly, Tim Walz can handle. I mean, I don't accept this idea that like he doesn't want to take the criticism. If you want to create viral moments, like sit there and take the licks and give it back to people. You should be able to defend yourself. Let's go to Adam in Robbinsdale. Adam, thanks for calling. What do you think is going on? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, no, it makes total sense to me. And here's why. Because he's surrounded by horrible people right now. And I mean, look at where he was. Even, the first 6 months of COVID, maybe it went too long and all the stuff like that. But he was like this one Minnesota guy and actually kind of acted as a centrist. And now, I mean, he was goofy when he was running for VP. That wasn't the same Tim Walz. If you look at YouTube clips when he was running for, state office and then when he was running for House of Representative, somehow he has surrounded himself with people that are just giving him the worst. So that's why it makes total sense to me because I used to be a Walz guy. And I'm a lefty, but if he runs against a nomination, I might have to write you in.
Yeah.
Or
well, I think we have sort of similar views. You're maybe a little more to the left than I am, but like I've always liked Tim Walz. I like the One Minnesota bit. I like the fact that we had a guy from Mankato who was a teacher, who was like more of a normal human instead of like from the Ivy League political class, that sort of bit. Like I thought that was pretty cool. And he understands farming and he was a hunter and you're like, all right, like this seems pretty good. Like he's going to be able to bring people together. And I, like you, wonder like what sort of advice is he getting? Because if I were on the advice panel, I'd be like, do not go to Iowa. Do not go to Iowa. That
makes zero sense.
Go to Finstad's district, go to one of the, go to Emmer's district, like do something in Minnesota.
Especially those that are being affected by, some of the cuts that are happening from those. Like, take advantage of that
Yes.
within the state.
It's a great
not going
opportunity.
to Iowa.
Yeah.
Oh man, strike while the iron's hot, and he's just fumbling that opportunity. But and also, last thing, I don't believe in luck.
Oh, you don't?
Nope, only in craps. That's the only thing. And roulette. That's it.
Very
The
good.
rest of it, you make your own luck.
Adam,
All right.
Adam, thank you. Adam has set up the opportunity to go to the Odyssey app where you can listen live to this show. Do you believe in luck? It's St. Patrick's Day. I'd love your thoughts on luck, when luck has struck for you, when you felt abandoned by luck, whatever the case may be. Send us a voice message. The texts are very good. You guys are, the text line, Dan, I feel like over the weekend they store it up. And then come Monday, they're ready to go.
They're just bringing it?
They're just ready to go.
Nice.
Texture. Now, have the Republicans sent out like an alert that they're supposed to describe Tim Walz as a buffoon, as buffoonery? Because we got a couple of texts. Governor Walz has 0 chances nationally and should, after months of running for VP, should focus on Minnesota. But hopefully people wake up to his buffoonery. And I think our first caller also Dave used the word buffoonery.
Multiple times. So maybe just people picked up on that.
Could be. A texter says, I sure would like more examples of Walz buffoonery. The Republicans have buffoonery coming out of their ears. My Walz issues are largely about his leadership.
Mm-hmm.
That on the issues, if you were to line up the issue, and I guess, do we really know? I mean, on the issues, generally speaking, like Tim Walz and I are I don't think we're that far apart. But on leadership issues, you say right now, in this moment, why not barnstorm the state? Why would you leave? Why would you leave the state? When I think about the fact that we need a budget, I'm impressed. And by impressed, I mean like this is the bare minimum of what I would expect out of the job. But I'm glad that he's meeting with the Republican and the Democratic leaders on Wednesday, because I've been concerned that too often you just sort of have to, let them work it out. And then the governor comes in at the end. And then my other leadership issue for sure has been the lack of accountability when it comes to the fraud scandals in this state. The fact that no one got fired, to me, is still the biggest head scratcher of all. Let's go to Mike in Woodbury on the CCO Talking text line. Mike, thanks for calling in. Are you?
Yes,
what do you think is going on there? Because going to Iowa and Nebraska makes no sense to me.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I mean, he should be. I mean, I think the governor right now should be completely, more tentative of focusing and prioritizing his matters on the state first. I mean, when it comes to, deterring the fraud here within the Medicaid and all this other fraud-related matter that's been going on consistently. And yes, he has to personally, intervene on this matter, because he can't rely on anybody else or have someone come hold his hand or whatever over there to make sure that somebody needs to be held accountable. And I just don't understand why he's going to Iowa and other places to have town hall meetings there. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. He should be more focused on, what's Minnesota prioritizing or what needs to be dealt with here in the state. Whether it's like saying, well, how about education? I mean, we always say here in the state, education always comes first. Or, well, if that's the point, then why don't you acknowledge the matter right now, start investing, and then start making sure where our tax dollars should go and not anywhere else or whatever, or nothing that really is just downright frivolous or whatever. And yeah, it's saying buffoonish. I would say he's acting somewhat clownish or whatever when he tends to talk in circles or act dismissive in whatever particular matter.
It's not like Tim Walz is the only one in that category. The country just elected a president.
Yeah, I know.
All of these guys, I don't know. I think Tim Walz is
look
worse
at
than many,
Elon Musk.
Yeah,
look at Elon Musk. It seems like Trump appointed him to be his advisor, but nonetheless, it seems like Musk is kind of like holding his hand over there. You know what I mean?
It's a little disgusting all the way around, isn't it? Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Mike in Woodbury, it isn't that Tim Walz hasn't done anything in Minnesota. He was at a farm in Cannon Falls a couple weeks ago talking about tariffs, but it just, to me, says I still want to be a national guy. I want to be in the national conversation. Now, we're getting a lot of texts saying like, oh, it's the liberal way. How do I get out of work? Who's paying for the travel? I will say this, and coming up in 1 hour, we will take time out of the show to salute America's most skilled golfer, Donald Trump, who has spent 6 out of the last 8 weekends traveling to play golf at his golf course in Palm Beach, Florida. So don't give me this like, oh, Tim Walz can't take a road trip to Iowa. He's trying to get out of work. Like, I mean, look, I'm criticizing Tim Walz. I'm just saying you guys don't need to be over the top idiots about it, right? Be more like me, like a more moderate idiot. I'm only a little bit of an idiot on this show.